Good day, viewers. We're working on an '06 Toyota Sienna van. Yeah, it's a Sienna van. And it's here because it's routine maintenance. And this exhaust flex joint is leaking here. It's cracked internally. Now, it's normally serviced by replacing the entire pipe, but that comes up with some challenges. You can see the bolts are pretty rusty. So what I'm going to attempt to do is cut this section out. I might take off this forward pipe, heat these nuts and take the forward pipe off and weld in just a universal flex joint, because this pipe, this Y pipe assembly, is about $300 retail, plus there's a couple gaskets involved. Now I'll need a gasket for this joint if I do take this off, but this pipe is pretty solid still, and I don't want to disturb the flanges here. So I'm going to try that. So I cut the pipe off just where the flange starts to expand. I disconnected the O2 sensor connector up on top of the frame here, and I'm going to take these nuts off. I might have to heat these with the magnetic heater. So here's my magnetic heater. I sprayed penetrating fluid on it and I'm heating it. Water's dripping on my head. That will get red hot. Once I see the penetrating fluid is evaporated, I usually try it at that point. So that worked. So I'm going to do the other side, and hopefully we can weasel this out of here without having to cut this section off here, because I'd like to put it back together again and slide the joint inside this one and back up to there. We'll see. So that came off just fine, but I noticed something interesting. This front pipe is a double wall, and the engineers do that for noise reduction. If you buy an aftermarket pipe, it's not going to be double wall like this. Like I said, this is done for noise reduction, and if you put an aftermarket pipe on there, not only is it single wall, it is cheaper quality. So this might cause me a problem here when I go to join this. I'm not sure if it's going to slide inside that. That would be nice if it did. That would work out just perfect if it does. But I'll clean up this gasket surface, and we're waiting for parts. So I ordered 3 universal ones to see which one would fit best. But I think I'm going to use this one because it'll weld right in place of the existing one. This one here, 51024, was my second choice. I could weld it at this end, cut it off, but when I go to put it in here, it's a little loose in here. So although it would weld just the same around there as well, but the other one, I think this 51021 will fit just like that. It's actually snug fit in there, and we're going to cut it off in a bit about 1/4 of an inch longer than it was. So I'm going to cut this pipe. Cut this pipe off. So I cut this flange off, and I cleaned up the, got to clean that a little better, but that's going to weld in there just nicely. I'm going to weld this piece here off the vehicle and then slip this in. I'm sure that I can get that on there. Got the gasket surface clean, and this fits right nice and snug in this pipe here. Not enough to clamp it, but enough to weld it. So I'm just going to clean the rust off there and let's get to welding. So there's the front joint welded together. I'm going to Put a new gasket in here, and then we're going to slip that pipe into the rear pipe and weld it in place once it's bolted up, of course. That's the part number of the gasket on the front and the back manifold, so I only need one. There's the pipe installed, bolted up, and just letting that sit where it naturally sits, and I'm just going to weld this around here, and then we should be good to go. So there's the finished pipe. I'm going to put some high heat paint on it. It's a bit of a challenge welding up here with the MIG welder, but I was able to put the welding rod down through here like this to get the top and look at it with a mirror. Much easier to weld outside of the vehicle than it is inside the vehicle, but that'll be fine. I'm not a professional welder by any means. So that's it. O2 sensor reconnected and secured, and we're ready to go. Well, that just sucks. So now this is not leaking anymore, but the exhaust manifold is cracked right there. This was leaking. I could held my hand around it and I checked it. Oh boy. So this needs an exhaust manifold catalytic converter assembly. Wonderful. Oh well. That's what you get working on old vehicles.